会集一切众生，请转妙法轮教导我们如何了生脱死离苦得乐，速证无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth. Please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth. Please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth. Please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto suchedoye alahadi sanmiao sanputoshe.
Namo saranto suchedoye alahadi sammiao sambuddhoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 师父上人，各位师兄，大家阿弥陀佛。Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture today. My name is Heng. Today is Sunday, April 17th, here in the Gold Coast of Queensland. It is Saturday evening in California on the 16th, and we're about to launch into an explanation of the ascent to the Sumero Heaven Palace chapter of the Flower Garland Sutra. So welcome if you've come for that purpose. We are also going to do something special today. The 16th of April this year is the 16th of the third lunar month on the lunar calendar. And that is the day that we observe a variety of holidays, a number of holidays. One is the birthday of Shang Xuan Xiahua Lao He Shang, of our founder, Master Xuan Hua. And that's a day to celebrate. And we have a special way of celebrating that today. We're going to take you on a tour of something that happened here yesterday at the Gold Coast Dharma Realm, which was we installed Sharira in the sacred relics of our teacher in the jeweled Vajra Stupa, the Sharira Tower that is recently created here in the Gold Coast. And that is something very special. Today is also the birthday of Chunti Bodhisattva. Actually, yesterday on the calendar, Master Hua and Chunti Pusa, said to be the mother of Buddhas, shares a birthday. So that's happening. It's also a day when we celebrate the 10,000 Buddhas repentance at City of 10,000 Buddhas. That's ongoing for a number of weeks. So let's get into it. We still need to invoke spiritual presence and then acknowledge country and get ourselves underway. So here's our verse to do our evocation. Let me share my screen. Here we are. Now, while we have our slideshow up, the Kombumerri people of the Ugambi language group practice their spiritual connections to land and to all creation in this location here for thousands of years. Today, we acknowledge them as the traditional custodians of this land, with gratitude that we share it, with sorrow for the costs of that sharing, and with the hope that we can move to a place of justice and partnership together. We acknowledge their wisdom and their elders, past, present, and emerging, and acknowledge as well all First Nations peoples whose sovereignty was never ceded. There we go. By golly. So, Chunti Bodhisattva, let's go through our holidays just a bit. Chunti Bodhisattva is said to be a emanation, a transformed body of Guanyin Bodhisattva, some say. Others say that she is has a different history, but in any case, Chunti, Kundi sometimes, Chundi sometimes in Sanskrit, looks like Guanyin because she has a number of arms, different numbers. Not as many as 42, not as many as 1,000, but some say 12, some say 16, some say 18. Chunti Bodhisattva is female, definitely appears as a female figure. And Master Hua had a book that he carried with him pretty much from childhood. As when he first discovered, he said he always had this book with him. And it was called the Lengyan Zhou Shu, the Shurangama Mantra Exegesis, a commentary on the Shurangama Mantra. It's a small book. And it explains every line of the Lengyan Zhou. Master Hua used that book heavily when he explained the Shurangama Mantra for us, line by line. So at the back of the Lengyan Zhou Shu, that book, is a section on Chunti Bodhisattva. There's a sutra that calls her the Qizun Fomu. She is the mother of Buddhas, it says, 7 Buddhas in particular. And in that sutra, it talks about how Chunti Bodhisattva can be accessed, how you can get to the compassion of Chunti Bodhisattva. And it talks a lot about dreams. There is a section on dream interpretation in the Chunti Bodhisattva Sutra, and how to, what the good things that happen when you recite the Chunti Bodhisattva mantra. And so what is that mantra? It says if you can recite that mantra this number of times, you can wipe away all karma that you created from life after life. If you can recite that mantra a certain number of times, your Bodhi resolve will come real and you can achieve Buddhahood in the future. So all kinds of wonderful benefits that arise from reciting the Chunti Bodhisattva mantra. And what's good about that is anybody who has done a morning ceremony in the Mahayana tradition does what are called the 10 small mantras. And in those 10 small mantras, you meet the one that goes Sadonan Samyao Samputo, Jujunan, Dajatonan, Juli Juli Junti Sopoha. Anyone who has had lunch in a Chinese Buddhist monastery dining room has, at the end of the lunch, gone like this. Sadonan Samyao Samputo, Jujunan, Dajuto, Juli Juli Junti Sopoha. Right? And then there's the added verse that goes, they who practice making offerings will certainly obtain their reward. They who take delight in giving will later surely find peace and happiness. That's part of the Mahayana liturgy that we do every day. So, in fact, this Chunti spirit mantra, Chunti Shenzhou, is something that's part of our daily practice. But most people don't know about Chunti Bodhisattva. So we practice, but we don't know the backstory. So yesterday was Chunti Bodhisattva's birthday, the day of the liturgical calendar. So in honor of Chunti Bodhisattva, let's recite that mantra one more time. And if you can learn it and recite it yourself, all kinds of wonderful things happen. Sadonan Samyao Samputo, Jujunan Dajuto, Nam Juli Juli Junti Sopoha. So that was one holiday we celebrated yesterday. Another was the birthday of our teacher, our founder, Master Shenhua. So there's going to be more said about that coming up. Now, we're in our second lecture of our brand new series, and that lecture involves the Avatamsaka Sutra's Chapter 19, which is called Sheng Ye Mo Tian Gong Pin Di 19 Chapter 19, Ascending to a Palace in the Suyama Heaven. Okay, we gave the background last week. We talked about how the Avatamsaka Sutra is spoken in 7 different places, 9 different occasions, twice in 2 places, and that, furthermore, that in this Suyama heaven, which is a heaven above the Trayastrimsha heaven, it's the 3rd heaven in the desire realm of our world, the svaha, the saha world, the world that's meant to be endured. So in this particular location, the Buddha speaks 4 separate chapters, and 4 chapters of the Avatamsaka. This one is not spoken by the Buddha. He only has, I don't think he has any lines in this chapter, but it's all about the God who, let me look at you all while I say this, the God who is in charge of the Suyama heaven invites the Buddha to ascend and invites him to explain the Dharma of the 10 practices chapter, and also the chapter called the 10 inexhaustible treasuries, 15金藏品, that follows the 10 practices. So that's what that is. That's where we're going. Share my screen. Thanks for the reminder. I always forget. Here is our chapter. This is, you can see it there. See the name of it. And so last week we cracked it open. We talked about that first, the miraculous events that happen when the Buddha speaks Dharma, including that sense that the Buddha is sitting in front of each one of the bodhisattvas who have gathered here. That amazing phenomenon that people reported took place when Master Hua explained the Dharma as well. I'm going to sneeze, if you don't mind. Let me first mute myself. Hit that old cough button on Zoom. Okay. So let's, since we're right at the beginning, we can do it again. We can read it again. We already lectured to that first paragraph break, and we'll continue explaining from there. But let's read together. First, the title. Okay, ready? Here we go. 大方广佛华严经生夜末天宫品第19. The Flower Garland Sutra, Chapter 19, Ascending to a Palace in the Suyama Heaven. 20如来为神力故，十方一切世界，一一四天下，南阎浮提及须弥顶上，皆见如来处于中会。彼诸菩萨悉依佛神力故，而演说法，莫不自谓恒对于佛。Then the Tathagata's awe-inspiring spiritual power allowed everyone in the southern Jambudvipa, in the continents of worlds of every direction, as well as beings on the summit of Mount Sumeru, the polar mountain, to together witness the Tathagata there amid the gatherings. Those bodhisattvas each received the Buddha's spiritual strength, and with that inspiration spoke Dharma. Without exception, each of them felt that the Buddha sat directly in front of them. Okay. There's a miracle, according to science, we would call it a miracle because science can't explain how in worlds of every direction, 10 directions, worlds, there is a southern Jambudvipa continent among the 4 continents that make up a world. in each of those world's southern Jambudvipa continents, as well as at the same time on the summit of Mount Sumeru, beings there, so the Tri-Streamsha heaven beings, saw the Buddha there among them. Bodhisattvas in those southern Jambudvipas and on the top of Mount Sumeru were gifted with the Buddha's spiritual strength. The Buddha blessed them with a unique ability, and that inspiration allowed them to speak Dharma. They all had this miraculous sensation that the Buddha was sitting right in front of them. So, of course, they felt better in body than they'd ever felt before. They felt happier at heart than they'd ever felt before. They felt, what's it like to have no worries? What's it like to have no fears? What's it like to have no doubts? To know that every thought that occurs belongs right there and is a thought that you can act on without any fear of mistakes or transgression or excess or deficiency. Every thought is right. Every impulse that you have comes from a heart of kindness and is harmless. How fine that would be, to feel totally one and to feel completely at home, that you are where you belong with people you want to be with, and the time is right and the time is now, and your heart is full, and everything you do, you put your entire being into. How wonderful that would be, to have this sense of just righteous, right? Without being full of yourself in that righteousness, overbearing, but just right and at home. That would be a wonderful feeling. That's what it's like in front of the Buddha, I'm assuming, based on what I've read and stories I've heard of others who actually had that experience. So having the Buddha sit directly in front of you is a very good thing. These bodhisattvas are, what do we say? We say pumped. They're ready. They're recruited by the Buddha to be Dharma speakers. They're ready to go. More miracles. 20世尊不离一切菩提树下，即须弥山顶，而向于彼夜摩天宫，宝庄严殿。时夜摩天王遥见佛来，即以身力于其殿内，化作宝莲花，藏狮子之座。百万增基一位专属，一位庄严。百万金王以为交落，以为交落。Okay, let's let the page break be our break for us, because this is a long section. Then the world-honored one, without departing from his seat beneath the Bodhi trees and the peak of Mount Sumeru, headed to the jeweled, adorned hall in the Deva's palace in the Suyama heaven. Just then the celestial king of the Suyama heaven saw the Buddha approaching from afar. He used his spiritual powers to conjure a jewel, lotus, flower, treasury, lion's throne. The throne was decorated by 1,000,000 tiers of staircases, 1,000,000 golden nets draped down. So, there's stories that need to be explained for background here. About what? How does the Buddha go to 9 places, 7 places? How does the Buddha go to 7 places 9 times and never leave his seat beneath the Bodhi tree? I think if I had Master Chengguan Qingliang Guoshi, National Master Qingliang, in front of me, and I insisted that he give me an answer. I need to know. Inquiring minds. Tell me, how is this possible? how can the Buddha be sitting there in full lotus and yet travel at the same time? How can he be in two places at once? As they say, when you're not anywhere at all, well, he's really there. He's somewhere. But how can he do that? How can he bilocate? And I think Master Chungguan would say, Fa Ru Shi Gu, because the Dharma is that way. It's just that miraculous. And when he says the Dharma is that way, what he means is your nature, my nature, are that way. It's built in. When you do the Dharma as instructed, when you don't skip steps, you don't pollute it with monetizing it, you don't try to get something out of it, right? You just do it because it's a form that works and that is ageless and is wonderful and is humanity at its best. That's why you do it, and these miraculous things take place. For example, the world-honored one, the Bhagavan, the Shizun, the one honored by those in the world and those beyond the world, without leaving his seat beneath the Bodhi trees, plural, in all those southern Jambudvipa continents, and remember, he was on the summit of Mount Sumeru at the same time, he left. And he went I guess, up to the Suyama heaven, the next level of heaven. The distance he traveled isn't mentioned. That's not important, according to the Sutra. But it was close enough that in the next level of heaven, the Tianwang, the Deva king, the celestial ruler of the Suyama heaven, saw the Buddha coming and said, okay, we're ready. We have a special guest coming. Saw the Buddha approaching from afar. So how far from the Triastrimsha to the Suyama? Afar. That's how far. And our Suyama heaven king got into action. He used his spiritual powers. Interestingly, the Deva king has Shantong. He's got psychic powers. We know that Chakra Devanam Indra, the god of the heaven just below, the 33, also has psychic abilities. So, what does this say about real Shantong? It says gods can do them. You can get them. And for people who hear and know about Shantong and are interested in them, psychic abilities, this is, whenever this pops up in the sutra, we point to Master Hua's teachings on them, saying that in the contemporary science-based world, science-educated, people who are educated from a scientific perspective with fact-based investigation and evidence-based argument, we don't talk about Shantong much in the world. People get confused about them. Master Hua said, instead, talk about virtue. Talk about the goodness of the heart. Talk about values. Talk about traditional ways of improving your humanity. That's what we need most. Those things are closer at hand, and when they emerge, relationships grow and flourish. When pursuit of psychic powers emerge, competition and greed and fighting emerge, right? So that was a clear choice. Now, there are cultures and there are times in our culture when psychic powers are not confusing, and people understand them in the context of tools to help us wake up. Then it's different. All right? In a time, at our time now, people, realtors claim psychic powers. Oh, I found the perfect shop lot for you to buy so that you will make a lot of money. This is perfect for you. You should buy this place. Never mind that it's expensive. I've looked, I opened my Deva eye and I saw it's perfect for you. Buy this place. Okay. Other people say, yeah, okay. I bet $1,000 on Lucky Star in the fifth, 3-1. Yeah, so greed comes in. So we don't. Stockbrokers, oh my goodness. I know the perfect debenture, portable debenture. I know the perfect portfolio for you to invest in. I've used my knowledge of the heavenly ear to listen to the devas talk about the next stock to go IPO. So, right. Okay, that's neither here nor there. Take a look. Our deva, in the king of the Suyama heaven, saw the Buddha coming, and what did he do? Ji yi shen li. He used workers for sure. He gave orders and told people to go set up the place, but he also used his psychic powers. Now, okay, bonk, there we go. So I recently saw a depiction of the British royal family. They have, like royalty everywhere, have a number of homes, and one of the homes is Sandringham. It's where Her Royal Highness, the King of England, the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth, when she has certain holidays, Christmas, for example, or Easter, etc., she does her entertaining there at this rural estate. And oh, it looks, I mean, it's huge, it's vast. And what happens when she wants to bring the family for Christmas, for example, first a military convoy comes in. All of the, British royal trucks come rolling in. And the soldiers hop out. They're in military formation. They march like soldiers march. And they throw back the green khaki colored canvas on the back of the trucks, and each pull out these huge, heavy looking containers. And it takes 2 soldiers per container. It's big. And they get in line, blow the whistle, march. And they march into the back of Sandringham Castle and estate and down to the kitchen. And they set the containers on these stainless steel kitchen counters, all in order, perfect. They blow the whistle, they all turn about face and march out, get back into their trucks and drive away. Whoa, what's that all about? What are in those containers that the soldiers, very orderly fashion, lined up in the downstairs kitchen in the bottom of the estate? Well, the doors open and another crew come in. And who is it? It's the chefs. It's the cooks and the servers, the butlers and the waiters and the pantry maids and all. And they all come down, orderly, wearing their aprons, ready to go. And on command, they each lift the lids of the containers. And this one has lobsters on ice. And this one has fresh fruits on ice. And the next container has 200 pounds of fresh vegetables on ice, ready to go. And the others have the cutlery. And so an instant banquet has been delivered by the military and is attended to by the royal chefs. And poof, boom, boom, boom. That evening, Her Majesty arrives and her guests arrive, and they pull up in their Rolls Royces and their Maybachs and their Bentleys and their royalty cars, their vehicles. And it's just sublime how they all walk out just coiffed and bedecked as they need to be for this event. Might be one dinner, and they all come in and eat on command and eat the food, and it's quite marvelous. It's royalty. This is how the Queen entertains. And after the banquet, they say the right things, they perform the right ceremonies, and either go to bed or go back. It's all over, or there's another 3 days to go. But it all happens just boom, 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 like that. And a royal banquet appears manifest before your eyes. How wonderful. And as you can imagine, in the Suyama Heaven Palace, when the Buddha is coming from afar to speak Dharma, oh man, the Deva of the Suyama Yemo Tianwang knows what to do. They always say that the adornments of the Devas are the most sublime. The offerings made by the Devas are the fanciest. And so it's his moment to prepare for the Buddha. Now, who is the Buddha? Well, the Buddha is an ascetic monk. His robe is essentially, of course, once he's the Buddha, it's a little different, but for certainly 6 years of his life as an ascetic in the wilderness, it was whatever he found in the gutter and then washed off and sewed together to cover his body. That's all. The Buddha has a simple lifestyle, low maintenance, easy to take care of. It's not a problem to keep the Buddha happy. He takes whatever you offer him that doesn't break his precepts for food. He is low maintenance. So, for the Suyama Heaven King, he doesn't have to provide wealthy offerings, but of course, as a king of heaven, as a deva, a celestial being who has abundant blessings. The thing that is different about devas and us is fu bao, fu qi. They have blessings. They cultivated those blessings while they were in a human body. Now they get to enjoy them in a deva's body. So you can imagine how incredible that must be. And they are lavish as they welcome the Buddha. There we go. So, what happens next? We ready? Here comes the story. We're going to welcome the Buddha. What do you suppose? We start with a throne, a baozuo. And the throne is said to be a lion's throne. And a lion's throne is not a throne where lions sit. It's that, how did it get the name? In the past, lions, wild, fierce lions, allowed the Buddha to ride upon them, invited the Buddha to ride upon them. Manjushri Bodhisattva still rides on an actual lion. So a lion's throne, lions are the kings of beasts. They are qin shou zhi wang, right? So they are the most feared of lions, the most powerful, the most authoritative. And so when the king of animals volunteers himself, herself, as a throne for a sage, the Buddha or Manjushri Bodhisattva, then it's like everybody is very ruly. When the Buddha takes that seat, when Manjushri shows up on his lion, nobody messes around. That's a lion, and you wanna be shun gui dao ju, they say in Chinese. You want to follow the rules. You want to not mess around. So it's a lion's throne. Now, in this case, it is actually a seat. It's not an animal, but it's carved with the images of lions. The Master Shenhua's, Shifu's seat in the 10,000 Buddhas Hall is a lion's throne with lions carved on the hands, on the armrests, and on the legs. It's quite marvelous. This lion's throne is a special lion's throne. It is a flower treasury lion's throne. It is a lotus flower treasury lion's throne. It is a jewel lotus flower treasury, lion's throne. So, what a seat. Throne for kings. Well, the Buddha is happy on a bale of hay. The Buddha doesn't need a throne, a king's throne, to feel like he's fancy enough, or everybody knows to be afraid of him or to respect him or to butter him up. None of that. The Buddha doesn't need the externals, but he needs a seat that he can cross his legs in. When I travel out to talk in all the various places, it's always, I instruct my Dharma protectors or the host of the event, if it's possible, could the chair be a little wider? Because I sit in full lotus when I talk, when I lecture, and often people give you a folding chair, what do you call it? We used to call it a card table chair, because we used to play cards when people played cards at a card table. And the chairs fold up. It's like a folding chair. And when you sit in full lotus, you kind of feel like a toad on a tiny toadstool. You could tip over, you can fall over. And your legs are out in empty space. They're hanging over both sides. You can do it, but if you have a choice, it's nicer to have something a little bit wider so that your knees can actually rest on something, if that's possible. If not, we'll be grateful for a chair without arms. Helpful to have a chair without arms, because you can't get your knees in among the arms of the chair. So that's helpful. Not essential, but helpful. This is a special jewel lotus flower. What is a jewel lotus flower? You can imagine. The bao, let's see, look at the Chinese. The Chinese gives us these words. Here it is right here. Bao, lian, hua, zang, shi, zi, zhi, zuo. This jewel here, this could just mean valuable also. That's another way to translate it. It's precious. It's worth a lot. But it could also be lotus flower made of precious things, not only hydrocarbons like an ordinary flower, but it's a special lotus flower treasury. So what is a treasury? Treasury, that word here, zang, is like a storehouse, like a bank, like a treasure chest, like a cache, right? Safe. It's a place where you keep things you want to keep safe. And it's where you keep your treasures. It's a treasure place. So a treasury of precious lotus flowers, lion's throne. It's a lion's throne made of a treasury of precious lotus flowers. That's where the Buddha is going to sit. Hey, Suyama Heaven King, you did good here. This is a good place to invite the Buddha to come sit. People around, now, on one hand, it's to make the Buddha comfortable while he speaks the Dharma, explains the Dharma, preaches. On the other hand, there is an effect of this seat on the audience as well. It's not only for the Buddha, it's mainly for the Buddha, but when people gather, bodhisattvas, devas, kings, bhikshus, bhikshunis, lay people, when people gather to listen to the Dharma, when they see the Buddha sitting on this incredible seat, it changes the atmosphere. You listen a little differently. And there's a function of that seat, its impact on the room, on the community. Master Hua, I didn't prepare a photo of this, but I will for next week. We're going to still be talking about this scene next week. When Master Hua explained sutras, night after night after night after night at Gold Mountain Monastery. He designed the seat. There were 3 big Buddhas, San Rulai, the 3 Tathagatas, Shakyamuni Buddha, Medicine Buddha, Amitabha Buddha. They were carved by Wang Taisheng, so they were just right. They were the right Buddhas to start the Dharma in San Francisco in the West. And they were in a house, a Buddha house, with gold, with the glass windows and green tiled roofs carving above it, and lots of red paint and couplets, matched couplets on the sides of the Buddha house. And it was ornate and very impressive. For somebody who grew up thinking that any kind of a gilded image, I couldn't look at it, I might be risking falling into the hells. Thou shalt not. That's what we're taught in Abrahamic traditions, that there's this monotheistic view. Well, here were these 3 incredible gilded Buddhas looking just very self-complete, very zizai, very at ease in this Buddha house. And so that was the setting, and it was high. It was up high. Then there was 3 steps going up this side and 3 steps on this side, leading to a platform on which Shifu had his lion's throne. And it was wide. It was a wide seat with a thin cushion, so you could sit on it comfortably, cross your legs. When you sat there, you felt, I never sat there, mind you, but you could see that Shifu would sit and pull. And then in front of Shifu was a table at the same height with a book stand for his sutra and a teacup and flour, and I think there was a bell, and there was a clacker, there was a jingmu that you made a clack to call attention, box of Kleenex, various things on the table. And then down on 2 sides of the table were large flower vases, large, for putting flour. So it was, you had to look up to see, and it was ornate. It was a functional place where anything said from that place commanded your attention. That was the lion's throne. And what did we called it? The high seat. That was just the word, somehow Gold Mountain, that was Shifu's high seat, or the Dharma seat. We never called it a lion's throne, but that's Shifu's high seat. And nobody went up there. We went up to dust it with a feather duster, but it was not a place you messed around with. It wasn't. You wouldn't do that. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze one more time here. Change in the weather, so my nose is itchy. So I remember that you didn't mess with the high seat. There was too much energy and strength, light coming off that to mess with it. Not that Shifu would have minded or scolded anybody, but it was just you didn't. And when Shifu would come down, bow to the Buddhas, and then to the right, circle to the right, go up the stairs to his seat and get ready to sit, there was a change. There was a change in the atmosphere. It was charged with focus and light. And then Shifu would open the sutra, and just transform the place. And the 3 jewels were the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and Dharma protectors were in town. The Buddha's in the house. And pay attention, because what you're going to hear now is going to help you. And so, plus Shifu may suddenly say, what do you think about that passage? And if you were, or didn't pay attention, or were goofing off, it'd be embarrassing. So, and he would ask people to for their response to something he'd said. So, very skillful lecturer who commanded those 90 minutes every night, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday. It was magical, truly, to be part of Master Hua's Dharma assembly. And it began from a lion's throne. So, what about this throne? I'm going to show you next. We've got Bai Wan. The next passage has many Bai Wan, 100 times 10,000, i.e. a million. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 30 some millions of decorations. That's why we're going to be with it for a little bit of time. So our Suyama heaven king, celestial king of the Suyama heaven, is busy. He is busy preparing this seat. And this is one of the reasons why the Avatamsaka Sutra gets this special flavor. This is why it's known for this. So, check it out. Ready? Here we go. 百万僧祇以为庄严，百万金王以为娇落. The throne was decorated by 1,000,000 tiers of staircases. Million by 100 times 10,000, just imagine a lot. Many, that's the point. Exactly 1,000,000, it's not going to stand still so you can count it. It's moving, it's dynamic. 1,000,000 golden nets draped down. 百万花帐，百万满帐，百万香帐，百万宝帐，弥覆其上. It was covered by 1,000,000 flower banners, 1,000,000 garland banners, 1,000,000 perfumed banners, and 1,000,000 jewel banners. Oh my goodness. Banners, you imagine them. If you've seen Chinese martial arts films or military period films, you see the armies marching into battle with the name of the family, Wei or Zhao or Sun or Li on the banner, and the armies march in. Kind of like that. That's one. If you've been to an actual Buddha hall, you've seen the various flags hanging from the ceiling or on either side. It's a standard ornament, decoration in the Chinese Mahayana tradition to hang up these long trailing banners, and it will say Ban Shi Shi Jia Mo Ni Fo, Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha, or Da Yuan Di Zang Wang Pusa, Earth Treasury Bodhisattva of Great Vows, hanging down like that. And there are also banners horizontally across that say Fa Lun Chang Zhuan, the Buddha wheel, the Dharma wheel constantly turns, things like that. So those are various kinds of banners. And so we have, first of all, nets, golden nets. Then we have flower banners, garland banners, perfume banners, and jewel banners. So when you see these banners, the effect is respect. Somebody has put a lot of effort into letting you know that this place is special. They're pretty. They're colorful. When the wind moves, they ripple. They mark space in an orderly and dignified, but also beautiful, colorful way. And they carry a message. The banner is there to tell you who we honor, who do we value. Fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha, greatly compassionate Bodhisattva Guan Shiyin, for example, will have a banner. And these banners are truly awesome. They're long. The ones at the City of 10,000 Buddhas, the 10,000 Buddhas Hall, they are 20 feet long, hanging down from the ceiling, and just splendid. So when you see these banners, you know something special is about to happen. In this case, it's the Buddha is coming to speak. Yes, indeed. Okay, at this point, I am going to move away from the sutra for today and going to move on to something I mentioned. Yesterday we had an event here to in celebration, in commemoration of Master Hua's birthday. We moved his Sharira into a Sharira Stupa. And what is a stupa? I'm going to show you a stupa now. We've got, in India, stupas look like this originally. Here's a stupa, Indian style. What is it? A stupa is a mound of earth. They call them in Chinese Gao Xian Chu, a place that is prominent place, lofty prominent place. A stupa is a mound of earth that contains the relics of a sage. It can be a Buddha, can be a Bodhisattva, can be a Pracheka Buddha, an Arhat, can be a king, I guess, if they're noble, but it has to be somebody who has left behind Sharira. And as stupa, this word, stupa, a tope, sometimes translated T-O-P-E, S-T-U-P-A, be careful it's not stupid, right? Sounds like stupa, stupid, only that last consonant. Stupa, it's not stupid. A stupa is a place where we enshrine the relics of a sage. So in China, oh my goodness, China developed this Indian religious architecture to an amazing degree. The Baota in China look just outstanding. Let me show you. Let's take, for example, Bao Ta. Here's a Chinese stupa, right? Different shapes. This is influenced by Tibetan and Indian architecture. Dayan Ta, famous stupas. You see the different number of stories. They are indicating the different number, let's see, let me say it again. Buddhas have more stories than Arhats do. Okay? If you're a Buddha, you have, 10 or up to 13? If you're an Arhat, fewer, right? So the number of stories indicates the degree of accomplishment, of attainment of the person whose Sharira are enthroned. Okay, that's stupa. Let me show you now, share my screen, what happened. Oh, don't hit that one. Take me out of the meeting. What happened here at the Gold Coast Dharma Realm, here in Queensland, Australia, we redecorated, we renovated our space and included a stupa for Sharira. This is a 1.5 minute video of us installing our stupa, creating it. It was made in Taiwan. On the outside of our stupa is engraved the Diamond Sutra. Jinggang Jing, Jinggang Boro, Boro Mi. Jing is right there inscribed on the outside. And you can see by this worker the scale of our Bao Ta. I wonder if anybody noticed the dragon cloud. Now, some people pay a lot of attention to these things, others not so much. But check out this cloud. Okay. So, there it is. That's what it looks like. And we built it with room for people to circumambulate, certainly, so you can walk around it. But that was the video of yesterday's event, installing the Baota, the stupa. Now, what are Sharira? So let's just show. Tell the story first. Okay, there we go. When a sage is cremated, and in the Buddhist tradition, you cremate instead of bury, when a body is of someone who actually cultivated the way according to the Buddha's teaching is cremated, in the ashes are left behind these jewel-like, stone-like, seed-like things. Very curious. Science doesn't understand these very thoroughly. So, let me show you Master Xuanhua's Sharira. When Shifu entered Nirvana, let's see, I got one more here. His Sharira were discovered in the ashes of his, hold on here. I want just a minute here. There we go. I had it all nicely laid out and then had to close Facebook. Oops. Okay. Let's try. Back here. There we go. So, among the Shifu's ashes after cremation, the funeral pyre, were found things like these. These are Sharira. Like that. When Master Empty Cloud did I not share that? You couldn't see those things? Let me try again. There we go. There we are. Those are Sharira. This is what's left behind in the ashes of a crematory pyre when a sage, someone who has cultivated the way, is cremated. So, here is Master Hua, here's Shifu. Here are the Sharira that were found in his ashes. They were distributed to monasteries. No person ever got one of these Sharira on their own, and that's important to mention. Okay, so let me show you our teacher's teacher, Master Empty Cloud, Master Shuyun. Here he is, at age 120. People know our grand teacher, Master Empty Cloud. He left behind a large number of Sharira, and Master Hua sent some disciples to China, and they brought back Master Empty Cloud's Sharira. Here they are. And these Sharira are on display at City of 10,000 Buddhas in the Wuyantang, the Wordless Hall. Here are those same Sharira. So this is what you find in the ashes, right? Okay. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Sharira. To understand their significance, you have to investigate humanity's spiritual aspirations, humanity's capacity for ethical goodness. For my translators, I'm skipping the first couple lines in the essay. So let's work on this essay now. I put together some thoughts. To help out the translators, I want to show them. This is what I'm going to turn to now, because Sharira are an important phenomenon, and yesterday was a day to do that. So I'm going to start here and skip on down so the translators can listen and keep up with me. All right? Okay. There's a universal human wish to leave suffering and to attain a state of happiness. And humankind, our lives, have the potential for perfection and for transcendence. Buddhism is a practical religion. It deals with everyday issues like suffering, the cause of suffering, and the end of suffering, and also a search for meaning in human life. Some people say that Buddhism is the religion of analysis for its rational and scientific approach to wisdom and for its compassionate and humane ethics. Buddhism also has a mystical side. We investigate fascinating phenomena that challenge logic and linear thinking. And Sharira are among that side of Buddhism. They are, the phenomenon of Sharira begins after death. 我现在讲的是舍利子的现象是开始在人忘故而被火化那句. Okay? So I'm down here now. The phenomenon of Sharira begin after death, in the fires of cremation. Most people, most of us, when our bodies are cremated, there's nothing there but ashes. But accomplished Buddhist practitioners occasionally leave behind mysterious objects that look like tiny crystals, pearls, like snowflakes. The substances are called Sharira, a Sanskrit word that means body, shenzi. It also means durable seeds, jingangzi. Sharira attract the attention of scholars and historians, the practitioners, and the general public because Sharira come from a normal human body that does not decay, but attains immortality. There it is. Sharira fascinate us as well because they involve funeral rites, internal alchemy, yoga, and mysterious practice. Over the centuries, history records many miracles connected with Sharira. For example, sometimes they emit light. Sometimes they multiply. 2 become 4, 4 become 12. To heal incurable illness, sometimes. People get protected from mortal danger from Sharira. The dead come to life, etc. Oh boy, now we're into that woo-woo realm, right? Well, Sharira are that way. Buddhists explain that Sharira, 佛教徒解释说舍利子是一个自然过程的产品. So that's where we are. Buddhists explain that Sharira are products of a natural process. They've claimed that Sharira are indestructible, 金刚不坏, that they can't be burned, smashed, melted, or split. Thus, they truly suggest the possibility of part of the human body reaching a sort of victory over death. Kings and emperors in China who sought immortality have been fascinated by Sharira and have honored the monks and nuns who created them. That the relics of the Buddha are considered priceless today, 2,500 years after the Buddha's nirvana, testifies to the fascination that people have had for Sharira throughout history. So where do they come from, after all? The translation of the Sanskrit word Sharira literally means body, but in Buddhist usage, the term refers to those bead-shaped, pearl-shaped, crystal-like objects found in the created remains of a dedicated Buddhist practitioner. It can also refer to parts of the body like teeth or bones. Occasionally a tongue is known to defy the flames of the cremation pyre, or the heart. They emerge intact from the flames of the funeral pyre. The Buddhist tradition maintains that Sharira appear when a cultivator of the way has lived a virtuous life. Sharira can emerge when someone holds the Buddhist precepts well, lay people as well. That is to say, that person refused to kill their whole life, steal, lust, lie, or use intoxicants. These are known as the Buddhist 5 precepts, guidelines for behavior. They have been the standard for what is known as non-outflowing wisdom. So, Buddhist tradition maintains that human bodies possess 3 qualities: essence, breath, and spirit. Jing, qi, shen. When a skillful adept is able to nurture and cultivate these 3 qualities inside his or her person, and they no longer outflow, over time, a subtle change takes place inside the body, and the essence and breath undergo a transformation. His or her virtue has permeated into the bones, leaving behind these indestructible crystals. When that person dies and the corpse is cremated, the fire of the crematory ovens smelts the bones of that individual into a substance of adamantine hardness. The presence of the relics after cremation is physical proof that the individual achieved a level of spiritual purity and ethical goodness. His or her humanity has been perfected. While sifting the ashes of someone who has that requisite purity, one finds colorful crystals resembling jewels, snowflakes, portions of the body that somehow resisted the heat and flames and did not burn. So, Sharira have an ethical, physical, as well as a spiritual source, in that they come from a person's commitment to purity and precepts, such that their essence, energy, and breath were intact and did not flow out in pursuit of mundane activities. The source of Sharira is human behavior, but perfected human behavior, according to the Buddha's moral guidelines. All right? So far, so good. Is this mysterious? Yeah, but it's like most things Buddhist. It's real world, real body, that when cultivated becomes world transcending. So, how do we use Sharira? In the Avatamsaka Sutra's concluding chapter, chapter 40, 普贤恒愿品, 我现在讲的是在佛经中部中常常有谈到舍利子. Okay? So, mentions of Sharira occur often in Buddhist scriptures. In the Avatamsaka Sutras, chapter 40, in vow number 5, 随喜功德, supporting others' merits, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva says to Sudana the pilgrim, he says, quote, this is the sutra, thus they cultivated every difficult ascetic practice and brought to perfection the teachings of the paramitas. They realized the various stages of the Bodhisattva's wisdom. They accomplished the supreme enlightenment of Buddhahood and eventually entered nirvana. Later on, their relics were distributed. I joyfully support all of their good roots. Okay? So, here is the Avatamsaka Sutra saying that Buddha's Sharira get distributed. Well, sure enough, King Ashoka, one of the historic Dharma protectors of the Buddha, took the 84,000 relics left behind in Shakyamuni Buddha's funeral pyre and built little stupa for tabletop stupas, and sent them all around the world. Making offerings to the Sharira of Buddhas who entered nirvana, who were cremated, and whose Sharira were distributed, allows us to bow to a piece of the Buddha's body and to create blessings, even though the Buddha is no longer physically in the world. So what? What's the big deal with Sharira? Well, the sayings about them are quite miraculous. Several years ago, I visited a Bay Area Buddhist temple as a guest of some Buddhist neighbors, the Japanese Jodo Shinshu Pure Land School. Their minister, Reverend Sasaki, invited me up to the roof of their building and took me through several doors that led to a small, thick-walled stupa right in the center of San Francisco. The location slightly moved from the original one of the original Japanese Buddhist church, which was the first official organized Buddhist entity in San Francisco, was the Jodo Shinshu Church, 1893 was when it was established. There was a stupa on their roof. Reverend Laverne Sasaki said, "Do you know that we have one of the Buddha's Sharira here? It was a gift from Sri Lanka to our leaders in Kyoto. We worship it here in San Francisco to keep San Francisco free from disasters such as earthquakes," he said. "You know the saying in the Buddhist world that wherever a true relic of the Buddha resides, there will be no major disasters for 100 miles in every direction. We believe our Sharira, through the Buddha's compassion, is helping to protect the city and all its citizens." He unlocked multiple security locks, and we made deep bows to the reliquary that contained the Buddha's Sharira. The energy that day felt pretty clear and tranquil, I must say. At the City of 10,000 Buddhas in Talmadge, California, the Wuyantang, the Wordless Hall, contains numerous relics of the Buddha, of Master Shenhua, and Master Empty Cloud, Master Xuyan Lao Hashang. His Sharira are perfectly clear crystals, as large as a pea. They're quite marvelous. They're clear. After Master Xuyan's nirvana in 1959, Shifu had the Sharira brought from China to Hong Kong, put them in the Buddhist lecture hall so Hong Kong disciples could make offerings, and then invited them to Northern California in 1962. They have likewise been protecting California since then. All right. Now, let me show you something very special here. I'll tell you the story first and then show you the pictures, because this is quite wonderful. 我现在讲到是阿育王寺那里。Buddha's bone Sharira rests in a special adorned stupa, this big, in King Ashoka Temple in Ningbo, China, in Zhejiang Province on the coast. The stupa is 2 feet tall, but it's like this, a famous Buddhist treasury with a long history. Its story has been recorded in many Buddhist classics. Historical records indicate that King Ashoka, the benevolent Indian monarch, gathered up 84,000 of the Buddha's relics after nirvana, distributed them in small stupas throughout many kingdoms, including China. So the Buddha's Sharira, thanks to King Ashoka, made it to China. One of those actual relics of the Buddha made its way to China in the Western Jin dynasty in 278 BCE. A monk named Huida heard the news and went out in search of the Sharira. When he came to Wuxiao and Mount Puto, he heard the sound of a ringing bell from underground. He recited scriptures for 3 days. He bowed to the ground in worship and recited sutras, and a small, dazzling stupa arose out of the ground before him. In that stupa was a bell and the Sharira of the Buddha's head bone, Togu Shori. Venerable Huida built a shrine on the spot where the stupa rose up. People began to gather to worship the relic. Because everybody believed the relic had come from India, they built a temple and they called it King Ashoka Monastery. For centuries, this relic served as a pilgrimage site for the faithful from all over China, including several emperors, including myself. Master Xu Lao, the saintly 120-year-old Buddhist monk, bowed to this Sharira 1,000 times a day. The Sharira relic emitted a bright light. There you go. Anytime you bow 1,000 times in a day, you're sincere. So sincere that the Buddha's head bone Sharira emitted light. How do we know this miraculous story? Science has a hard time proving. Master Shuyan related his experience while bowing to the relic of the Buddha at King Ashoka Monastery. He said, and I'm quoting from his biography, this is Shuyan Ahoshang Nyempu. Every day when visitors came to have a look at the Sharira, he said, I always followed them. The visitors' opinions about the relic varied greatly. I myself had seen it many times. At first it looked to me like the size of a green bean and dark purple in color. In the middle of the 10th month, after I bowed to the Mahayana and Theravada Tripitakas, I went again to look. It was the same size as before, but now it was brilliant red, like a pearl. I was impatient to see how it would transform itself. I again bowed and felt pain all over my body. Bowing 1,000 times takes a lot of effort. He said, the Sharira was bigger than a yellow bean, half yellow and half white. I then realized that the size and color varied according to the visitor's sense organs and their jingjie, their state. That comes from his autobiography. All right. So, of course, on a pilgrimage to China, together with a number of monks in 1990, we wanted to bow to the Sharira of Master Empty Cloud. During the Great Proletariat Culture Revolution, Ashoka Monastery was damaged, but a clever abbot saved it for posterity. So the Sharira with its 2-foot pagoda was saved. In 1990, a delegation from City of 10,000 Buddhas came. We were invited to pay our respects to the relic. I'd heard about it for decades. I'd read Master Empty Cloud's story of how it changes. I was keenly looking forward to the opportunity. The Sharira rests in a wooden reliquary behind security doors to keep it safe. It can be brought out for veneration and then safely returned. We bow to the Buddhas, one by one. You kneel down and look into this wooden relic stupa, and you see what you see. We try to catch sight of the treasure within. As Master Empty Cloud relates, the relic appears differently to every individual according to his or her affinities. 我们的代表团有5名僧人, okay? Our delegation of 5 monks and 2 laity each paid their respects and bowed to the Sharira before peering into the stupa. Afterwards, we compared notes. I had seen a white, glowing object. One person saw a purple, blurry light. Another saw a yellow, bean-shaped object. One monk, the youngest of our group, saw nothing at all. Sharira truly have magical properties that continue to challenge scientific exploration. Om Yi Fo. Here we are. That is what you look at. That's what you stare at when you try to see the Buddha's head bone, Sharira. This is an image taken from the Buddha Hall at Ayuwangsa, the Sharira Hall, King Ashoka Monastery. There it is. And you look in, and if you're lucky, you can see something. Not everybody gets to. Quite wonderful. So, there we go. These Sharira are just amazing. There are, so let me say, the late Chan Master, Shenhua, Shifu, left behind several thousands of multicolored crystal and porcelain objects. 我现在讲的是以玄化上禅师他火化后那里。 He left behind teeth relics that didn't burn despite the 1600-degree heat in the oven. His disciples resolved, we distributed the Sharira only to monasteries and not to individuals. Policy was followed strictly. I was doing some research today and I discovered that there are fake Sharira of Master Hua available for sale through Chinese websites. Do not go for them. I know for sure, for certain, that every branch monastery of DRBA got Sharira to put in a small stupa in your Buddha hall. No individual received a Sharira. It is not the case, unless somebody broke into a Buddha hall and stole it from the branch. Possible, maybe, but I think the monks and nuns would probably defend it with their lives. So, Shifu's Sharira were indeed brought yesterday into, before I share my screen, I'll show you here. Hold on. There we go. Some pictures from yesterday, just to say this event did take place. And here we go. Now I'll share my screen. All right. Let's start up here. There we go. Some scenes from yesterday here at Gold Coast Dharma Realm as we, on Shifu's birthday this year, invited the Sharira into the brand new stupa, and we read these verses from the Avatamsaka Sutra, particularly this one. Yo rao yu ta dang yan zhong sheng so xing wu ni cheng yi che zhi namo samando mutona nan dubo dubo soha. Circumambulating a stupa to the right, I think, may all living beings meet with no adversity in their practices and accomplish omniscience. Namo samando mutona nan dubo dubo soha. That's the verses from the Avatamsaka Sutra that accompany the worship of Sharira. This is the item that we installed yesterday, along with the Qibao, the 7 precious things, and sutras as well. Okay. Here was the ceremony in the Buddha hall beforehand. There we are, gathered around the new stupa. This is Richard, a lay Dharma protector, bringing the 7 jewels to accompany the small Sharira Stupa. There it is. Here is the altar set up around the Buddha before the 3 lay Dharma protectors carried the items into the stupa itself. Here's Shifu. So we were actually installing, there we are. Here is Cliff Wanglifu taking the stupa itself, the small Sharira Stupa inside the large architectural stupa. So if you got the idea, right, we were setting the, inviting Shifu Sharira in. Here we are a couple days before. The Sharira used to live on our patriarch's altar, and we moved it to the portable altar, which is going to live inside the stupa, the big stupa. So that's, there we go. That's our press announcement. And there we go. That's the architectural stupa that is going to grace us forever, eternally. They say that wherever these stupas exist, for 100 miles around, no disasters happen. So that's a good thing for Queensland. It's a good thing for Australia, a good thing for the planet. I know monks who have a lot of research, and they claim that stupas, just the stupas that hold Sharira, serve as important acupuncture points for planet Earth. And they have a map with all of the places where stupas, bauta, exist to keep the planet turning and to keep us in our orbit. And they make some amazing claims that this is how, without these, that the planet Earth would have long ago met its demise. And so that we have to keep our awareness of those stupas. And how do we, yesterday in my talk, I gave instructions for how to take advantage of the presence of the Sharira in the stupa. And the answer is you circumambulate. As I circumambulate, as I go around, I vow that living beings, how does it go? Got my, carry it with me. Circumambulating a stupa to the right, may all beings meet with no adversity in their practice and accomplish omniscience. Yo rao yuta dangyan zhongsheng, so xing wu ni cheng yi che zhi. And as you circle, you recite Namo dubo dubo. How does it go? Namo samandro mutona nandubo dubo sopoha. You recite that. And just that practice of circumambulating to the right is considered from the earliest times of the Buddhist tradition to be an incredible way to plant blessings, to wipe away your negative karma, to accomplish your vows and all good things, all good thoughts that you want to accomplish. So to have Sharira in the stupa here in Queensland is quite marvelous. So and also our stupa has the Vajra Sutra carved on the outside, inscribed on the outside. So to be able to circumambulate the Vajra Sutra is also said to be a chance for incredible blessings, just amazing good fortune to meet that. So big disasters become little disasters disappear, illnesses find balance, doubts and fears disappear spontaneously from the mind, good thoughts are nurtured, and all your wholesome activities come to a successful fruition. That's the benefits of reciting the mantra while circumambulating a stupa. So that's my story. Happy birthday to Shifu, happy birthday to Chunti Bodhisattva, and also may the 10,000, happy Easter to our Christian friends, and may the 10,000 Buddhas' repentance be auspicious for everyone. I'm going to switch now to the monks of Berkeley Monastery, is it Jinchuan or Jinwei Shi?
Yeah, Amitabha.
Okay, I'm going to ask them to let us know what's happening at the Berkeley Monastery.
Okay, so first announcement is that we changed the Amitabha session to after the bowing session. So from May 21st to 23rd, we have the Amitabha session for 3 days. That way people can focus on the bowing that's going on right now. So encourage people to join in the 10,000 Buddhas Repentance. If you want to find the link, it's on our monastery website, as well as the YouTube link. So you have 2 options, Zoom or YouTube. And if you want to keep scrolling down, Dharma Master. So the Amitabha session, which I just said, in May 21st to 23rd. The 10,000 Buddhas Repentance will continue from now until May 7th. And then, so you see the 2 links there, YouTube and Zoom. Then we have the reopening of the monastery on Thursdays and Fridays for meditation. So please register if you would like to come and sit with the monks and the community here. We're just slowly opening, trying to see what's the best and safest way to do it, learning from the best practices. And if you keep scrolling, we are also planning on having the Buddha's birthday on the first day of the May 21st of Amitabha session in the morning. So, so that's our current date, just after the bowing session. So if you please register, like we've done before, which was well received, is we actually read everyone's names during the ceremony. It's actually kind of magical because you think we have 4 people reading at the same time, sometimes even more. And somehow people are actually able to hear their names, which is pretty amazing. I think that's pretty much the main activities we have coming up. Otherwise, we still have our regular Dharma activities at the monastery with meditation, 3 steps, 1 bow, our daily ceremonies, and so forth. There's the Student Center retreat that was just below that Heng Sure scrolled to. If you would like to join, please sign up as soon as possible. There's already a wait list because of the number of people who signed up. But I think if you sign up now, maybe you can still get in, just in terms of people maybe not showing up. So please do that if you're really interested in coming. That's pretty much our activities.
All righty. Great. Thank you for that. Good indeed. Okay, so we did a lengthy introduction to Sharira just now because we had this special event yesterday, and it also was appropriate to do that on Master Hua's birthday. So next week we're going to leap right back into the ascent to the Suyama Heaven Palace and this incredible seat, this incredible throne that the Suyama Heaven King is preparing for the Buddha. I'll see if I can't find some illustrations of lion's thrones that monks have sat on to explain the Dharma, give you a kind of a visual on it. It is the full-blown Avatamsaka Sutra in its highest style, to have a seat decorated with 30 different kinds of adornments and wonders. The devas make the best offerings, they say, so we get to jump in next week. So we still have COVID ravaging us worldwide right now. I wonder how COVID is handled in Ukraine with so many people crowded together to evacuate or just to survive. COVID must, I'm sure that nasty germ has taken advantage of the situation to infect. So we need to keep our prayers moving. And this is one of the best of them for healing. This is Medicine Buddha's mantra. So, but now you can dedicate the merit of attending a sutra lecture however you please. I would like to continue to recite for an ending of COVID and for the healing of all of the hearts that are broken because of having lost loved ones to this bug. So, Medicine Buddha's vows and merit and virtue are invoked by reciting this mantra, so let's do it. And we'll see you next week. Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Adyata Om Aisaji Aisaji Aisaja Samugate Swaha Om Namo Bhagavate Aisaja Vaidurya Prabharajaya Tagataya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Adyata Om Aisaji Aisaji saja samugate swaha Om Namo Bhagavate Saja Guru Vajurya Prabharajaya Tagataya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Adhyata Om Vaisaji Vaisaji Vaisaja Samugate Swaha. I'm going to pick up my bell, invite you to join me in bowing to the Buddhas. We can bow 3 times. Here we go. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Alrighty, that does it for us this week. We'll see you all next week for more of the Avatamsaka Sutra. Amitofo. Bye, everybody.